Would you let Talia go to the parent formal or event with Luke over her dad if she wanted to? In one of your last videos with your ex-husband, you guys said that you would stay best friends. Are you? Oh my God, can I do this? Can I afford this? Can I be a single mom? Has Luke ever met your ex-husband? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is episode 3 of Coffee with Courtney, and it is all about divorce and co-parenting. Grab a coffee, grab a tea, grab a, I don't know, wine, whatever you want, whatever you're drinking at this time of day, and let's talk divorce and co-parenting. First of all, I want to give you just a quick rundown of my story. I married my ex-husband in 2015, and we had been together since 2010, I think it was 2010 we met. So we had been together for 5 years and we got married. Up until that point, it wasn't the best relationship. I think both of us were a little unhappy for different reasons. A whole lot happened in that relationship, which I just won't go into detail because that's not what this video is about. It's my other relationship. It's about the divorce section of that relationship. So what caused our marriage to break down was, in amongst, a bunch of other things leading up to the years that our marriage broke down, the army really broke our relationship down to the point where there was just nothing left. Our daughter was born in June of 2017, and 7 weeks after she was born, he was deployed to Afghanistan. We knew the deployment was going to happen, like we knew it was coming up, but it was just, the 6-month deployment itself wasn't too bad. Like, it was rough on me because I was completely by myself with our newborn baby, but it was an expected deployment. We knew it was happening, so it was like 6 months and it's all good. Like, that's in my head what I thought. And then after the deployment finished, he was posted back to Townsville, which is where his posting was, but I was living in Brisbane at the time because during his deployment I needed family around to support me as much as they could because I had a newborn by myself. And the plan was that he would apply for a transfer to Brisbane while he was still deployed in Afghanistan, which he did. I think there's a bit of speculation surrounding that. He apparently applied for a transfer and they lost the paperwork, and then he applied again and then they lost the paperwork again. This is just what he told me. I don't know to this day what happened, and it doesn't really matter at this point, but it was like fighting to get him to be with his family and to be with me, to be with his wife, to be with his child, just to come and see us. It was like a fight. And I feel like it just seemed like he didn't really want to be there. So it really put a rift in between us. There was already a rift. We had spent 6 months apart, and then he spent another 6 months trying to get a transfer to Brisbane. That's just, to the best of my knowledge, that's what happened. And it just broke the marriage down. It got to the point where I didn't trust anything he said. I was just snappy at him all the time. So of course he didn't want to talk to me or spend time with me. I probably wouldn't have wanted to either. But it just got to the point where we were both like, this just isn't working. And I moved out and into a new house, and within the month he had got a transfer and moved to Brisbane, but we'd already separated. So that's what happened. That's how the divorce happened. And in the very beginning of the early stages of divorce, we were still, friendly and happy and co-parenting easily and doing things together like birthdays and, doing things together in those first few months of separation / divorce. And it did not stay that way, unfortunately. I'm pretty sure there's questions surrounding that, but that is my story. It's been about 3 years since we've decided that we were going to separate. So it's been 3 years now. Let's get into your guys' questions. Sorry about that long intro. I just wanted to let you guys know, for those of you who don't follow me, my situation. I am now remarried. In case you don't know as well, I'm remarried to my current husband, Luke. So if he comes up in these questions, that's who that is. He has 2 kids to a previous marriage. I have 1, obviously, to my previous marriage, and we have a baby together. So we have 4 kids all together, all up together. First question is, do you let your ex-husband's new partner educate Talia? So my ex-husband does have a new partner. She's absolutely amazing. I love her. We have no dramas with her at all. I would imagine she would do quite a lot with Talia because Talia loves her, and I'm pretty sure she does do some education / play with Talia. I mean, I would assume so. And I have absolutely no problem with it. She can do, you know, I trust her. She can do what she wants with Talia as a stepmother because, you know, I trust her and I trust my ex-husband's judgment of her. And Talia loves her. So yes, I let her educate her. I don't know. Did I answer that question right? I don't even know. The next question is, would you let Talia go to the parent formal or event with Luke over her dad if she wanted to? This is a really rough, this is a tough question. I feel like I want there to be absolutely no doubt in Talia's mind who her real father is. Like, she knows that daddy's daddy and Luke is Luke. She totally gets that. And I guess what it comes down to is age and what's going on in her life at the time. I feel like if it's her high school formal and she is choosing to take Luke over her father, I feel like I would probably have to respect that decision, as she would be 18 or something like that. But that's a decent age to make your own decisions. But I feel like it all depends on how old they are and what's going on at the time. I personally have a really good relationship with my own dad, and I love my relationship with my dad, and I really, really want that for Talia as well. And of course I want her to have a really good relationship with Luke, and she does. But I just feel like I'd be asking questions as to like, why don't you want your dad there? Like, what's going on? Sit down and talk to me. And if it's a good enough reason, it's her decision. I would hate for her dad to feel excluded or like he's being replaced, you know what I mean? So I don't know, that's a really hard question to ask. It would really depend on the circumstance. In one of your last videos with your ex-husband, you guys said that you would stay best friends. Are you still best friends? No. What changed was I met Luke. So, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty common scenario, is you vow to stay best friends and then someone moves on and the other person is not very happy about it. And that's basically what happened. I met Luke really quickly. It wasn't planned. Like, I wasn't planning on meeting the love of my life and getting remarried and having another baby. It wasn't something I planned on. It just happened. So I had planned to stay like really good friends with my ex-husband, but no, we aren't friends anymore. We co-parent and we do so successfully, but we don't hang out and have coffee or like just talk about things that aren't related to Talia. So no, we aren't friends anymore. When did you know for sure it was over? Had it come up before then? This is a difficult question as well. Even the years leading up to his deployment, it was not a very good relationship for both of us. It was very toxic for both of us. We were both not happy, in my personal opinion. This is just like from my point of view. He could have felt different, I don't know, but this is just how I viewed the situation. But when I knew for sure that it was over was during the process of me buying furniture and like moving into a home that wasn't our home. I had like a little freak out moment of, oh my God, can I do this? Can I afford this? Can I be a single mum? Even though I had been doing it basically Talia's whole life, I was a single mum. Financially, I was being supported by my husband. So I had a freak out moment of, can I even do this? And I ended up messaging my ex-husband saying, like, should we give it one more go? Are we jumping into this, you know, divorce too quickly or whatever? And he said, what did he say? He said it wouldn't work. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something like, it's not gonna work either way, Courtney, like, don't even bother. So that's when I knew it was over for sure, because it was, up until that point, it was just me wanting to get out of the situation, but hearing the confirmation from him that he didn't think it was gonna work either made me realize it's really, like, both of us are on the same page. It's really not gonna work, and we just need to rip the band-aid off and move out. So I think it was when we were in mutual agreement that it's just not gonna work. I think that's when I knew for sure that it was like over and not gonna even, we weren't gonna try again, you know? How do you keep your shit together when the ex is acting like a baby? At this point in our divorce that's what it is, it's a divorce. At this point in our like co-parenting relationship, I guess, his doesn't act like a baby. Like, both of us are very mature and we know where we stand, and we know that we're here to just co-parent Talia, and it's really good for the most part. It's been great. for a long time. But in the beginning, there was just, it wasn't that he was acting like a baby, I wouldn't say that. It was just, there was some, you know, bad feelings involved and lashing out on his end. He was lashing out quite a lot for whatever I don't know, for whatever reasons. And there were some things he did and said that weren't so nice. And I feel like I didn't keep my shit together in those times. I just was like a mess. I felt like I was trying my hardest to, you know, be in this positive co-parenting relationship, and it just wasn't happening. I was trying to make these decisions based on what I thought was best for Talia at the time, surrounding custody and this and that, keeping in mind that Talia really hadn't been around her dad much at all. She'd only met him a few times in the first year of her life because he was gone. And it wasn't even about the custody, because we both agreed on the custody schedules. Like, that wasn't an issue. It was just any other decisions that had to be made. There was just always nastiness. But I feel like what I tried to do was just keep my breakdowns away from Talia. I would try and keep a brave face for her and be happy for her. I mean, I'm sure she could feel that I was upset some of the time, but for the most part, I just tried to keep it away from her and just let me feel what I was feeling during those tough times away from Talia, if that makes sense. So no, I didn't keep my shit together. I hope that answers your question. Has Luke ever met your ex-husband? No, Luke has not met my ex-husband. It is like, we are like 2.5 years in now, and he still has not met my ex-husband. In the beginning, it was just because my ex-husband didn't want to meet Luke. It was just, I offered it multiple times, and I have, you know, I've offered it multiple times, and he's just not interested. And in the beginning, it was, I'm sure, for different reasons now. Now he hasn't met him because we just have a routine of, you know, pick up and drop off, and Luke's not here half the time, so he doesn't really do the pickups or the drop-offs because he's not here. So it's just, he hasn't found a need to, they haven't had a need to meet each other. Now that I'm sure my ex-husband would be fine with it, there hasn't been a need to. But in saying that, if there was a need to and something happened, like there was an emergency or just I was busy the day that there was a pickup or drop-off, I don't think there would be any issues with them meeting. I think they would be fine, especially considering I'm on really good terms with my ex-husband's girlfriend as well. Like, there's no issues there. I would like to think that they would be the same the other way around, if that makes sense. So no, they haven't met, but hopefully they do eventually, right? I don't know. When was the moment for you when you thought, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore? A lot. Before Talia was born, before Talia was conceived, the years before Talia was conceived. Moving to Townsville really messed with my head. I hated being there. It was very toxic for my personal well-being, my mental health, and my marriage. Being in Townsville, I really let it get to me, and I probably shouldn't have, but I did. And it just, I felt like I wasn't supported. I felt like my ex-husband didn't care. He wasn't supportive, even though I, you know, picked up my life and moved for him. I felt like I wasn't being supported at all from him. So there was just a lot of resentment, and I knew I didn't want to be in that marriage for a long time. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was honest with him. Like, I told him all the time that I wasn't happy and I didn't want to be in that marriage. But I couldn't leave, and this is the stupidest thing that I think about it now that I've had kids and have different priorities. But I felt like I couldn't leave because I didn't want to lose my job. And I was trying the whole time to get a transfer back to Brisbane because I was a flight attendant and they didn't have any positions for me. And if I hadn't been able to get a transfer back to Brisbane, I probably would have left before Talia was conceived. So thankfully that didn't happen because I wouldn't have Talia. But yeah, I knew well before Talia was conceived that I didn't want to be in that marriage. That makes me sound like a terrible person. I'm just being open and honest with you guys. Yeah, I'm an open book, you know that. Would you say you love Jet and Lily as if they were your own? I feel like it's really hard to measure love because there's no measurement of love. It's just a different love. Like, you love your husband different to how you love your kids. You love your dad different to how you love your kids. You love your friends different to how you love, you know what I mean? Like, there's your stepkids, it's just a different love. So I wouldn't say I love them like my own because they're my stepkids and it's a different love. I don't love them any less. I just love them differently, if that makes sense. I'm sure if you're a step parent, you can understand that. But I don't love any kid more than the others. It's just a different love. Oh God, I hope that doesn't sound bad. What's the most difficult part of being a co-parent and the most rewarding part? I think the most difficult part would probably be communication when it comes to ex-partners. Luke and I are very good at communicating, so co-parenting in the one household, like under this roof, like we don't have any issues with it. But when it comes to communication with ex-partners, like communication with Luke's ex-wife and communication with my ex-husband, it's not as black and white, because obviously for a marriage to break down, usually the communication isn't great. Not always, but usually. So I never had great communication with my ex-husband, even when we were married. And same with Luke, he didn't have great communication with his ex-wife, even when they were married. So communicating with them now that we're not under the same roof and we don't get heaps of face-to-face time, it can be difficult, especially considering it's over text a lot of the time, or emails or whatever. I would say communication and things not getting lost in translation is it's probably the hardest part. And the most rewarding part, was that a part of it? Yeah. And I would say the most rewarding part of co-parenting is just seeing everything work smoothly in my head. This is what I pictured being a mother would be like. This is what I pictured a family to be like, having a family together, because I grew up in a broken home, so I didn't have that, you know, visualization of this is what a together family is. And now that I have that with Luke, with our family, I feel like that's a really rewarding thing. How are you doing birthdays / Christmas etc? Birthdays are fine, it's just whoever has the child on the day of the birthday will have them during the day, and then we usually will ask the other parent, did you want to see them, or did you want to celebrate on a different day, or whatever. I think with Talia, they've just celebrated like the week before. The thing with Talia is she doesn't go away for a whole week, so she's only gone 3 days, 4 days, 3 days, 4 days, and she like swaps the weeks. So she's not gone for a huge amount of time from either of us. So I feel like if her birthday's even in the middle of when she's with me, she's still going to see her dad a few days, like a couple of days later. So that's different to like Lily and Jet. In their situation, I think what's happened in the past is the same thing. Like whoever's had them, we have them, or she has them, and then there will always be an offer of, do you want to see the kids for their birthday? And we do usually. Like Jet's birthday was 2 days after Evie was born, so his birthday's 2 days after Evie's, and we had just been released from the hospital at like 8 p.m. or something like that, and we drove to her house straight from the hospital to like drop off some presents and things like that. I think that's what happened. Either way, Evie was like brand new, and the day that we saw him, I think we'd been released from the hospital, I'm pretty sure. I have a terrible memory, but we make sure that we see the kids on their birthday. I've only been in the picture for a couple of years, so there's only been a couple of birthdays, but that's what's happened. What happens if you disagree on something? I feel like in Talia's situation, co-parenting on that end has been very easy, because there is such a positive relationship with his girlfriend, and she is really good at communicating. So we communicate a lot about things and negotiate, and I think she kind of acts as a mediator when it comes to my ex-husband and I, because we're not great at communicating. It feels like my ex-husband and I speak a different language, and she kind of speaks both, if that makes sense. So she when it comes to disagreeing, there isn't a whole lot of disagreeing when it comes to my side of co-parenting with my ex-husband, but when it comes to Luke's ex-wife, it's a bit more difficult, because there is no mediator, and there is literally different languages going on. They'll have a conversation, and it's like it's honestly like they're not speaking the same language, and it just goes around in circles and in loops, and it's really difficult. I don't know, I can't do anything about that. That's not my problem. No, there's only so much you want to get involved as the new wife, if that makes sense. And that's kind of his area to negotiate. I'm really lucky that I have a good co-parenting relationship with my ex-husband, because holy moly, it's difficult when there's some disagreeing going on, especially around big things like what school your kid should go to. It's a huge thing, and if you disagree on it, it's hard. It is really hard. So what happens if you disagree? There's not much you can do. You disagree, you have to try and come to you just have to try and come to a middle ground at some point, especially when it comes to things like picking a school for your kid. There has to be some compromise from someone. I mean, there's no, I don't know. Let me know when you find out what you do when you disagree, because I don't know. How did your ex cope when you remarried? My ex is still resentful and I've been with my husband for 8 years now. Wow, 8 years. I feel like my ex-husband was fine when I remarried because I met Luke so soon after we separated. I think it was only a few months after we decided to separate that I met Luke. And it moved very quickly with Luke. So I feel like nothing surprised him at that point when we got married. He was just like, whatever. I don't think, like, yeah, he's got his own relationship that he's in. I don't think he cares, to be honest with you. That's just what I don't know. That's just what I think. How do you go about arranging things for Talia? I think I've already kind of explained that. We will just like text message most of the time. If it's a big thing, there'll be an email, but usually it's just a text message, or a verbal exchange when there's a changeover. So if I pick Talia up, he will be like, hey, can I have her this weekend, or can I have her for an extra day, or like blah blah blah, or whatever. That it'll also, there's verbal as well, and it all is fine. And if there's anything that I'm like scared or really anxious about communicating to him, I'll usually go through his girlfriend, because like I said, she's better at communicating our language, if that makes sense. Do you feel like you favorite your blood kids? I'm assuming that means like, do I favorite Evie and Talia? I forgot my kids' names. I have too many kids. Do I favorite Evie and Talia over his kids? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know, there could be situations where it's seen that I'm favoriting Talia, and I do struggle with this, and I don't want it to come across as I'm favoring her, but Talia's she's just very intense, and meltdowns happen very quickly. And so a lot of the time when she's asking for something, I have to be really careful about negotiating with her. And a lot of the times, especially if I've got all 4 kids by myself and I'm like in the middle of dinner or something, and she asks for something that maybe the other kids wouldn't get because they can understand the situation and they wouldn't even ask. Not that I would do this, but just as an example, Talia comes up and asks for a lolly in the middle of dinner. I wouldn't say no, but just as an example, if I wanted to avoid a meltdown and I knew she was in a cranky mood or whatever, I would just give it to her, because I have, you know, a 10-month-old and a toddler and 2 other kids that I'm trying to juggle while I'm cooking dinner by myself with no help. So that could be seen as I'm favoring her, but I'm not. It's just like, please don't have a meltdown. I don't have time for that, if that makes sense. That could be the only way I would see that they could potentially think that. And as a kid, I don't know what they think. I hope not. Generally, if the other kids are around and they're in the situation, I'll just be like, here's a lolly for everyone. Because it's fair. It comes across as fair. But if that didn't happen, I could see how that would. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like Talia gets away with a lot more because she's a toddler, and she's like, we just have to walk on eggshells around her a little bit more, because that's just what toddlers are like. So no, I don't feel like I don't want to favor any of the kids over any of the other kids, but it might come across. I don't know. These questions are really hard to answer. You guys are good at picking these questions. Anyway, that is all of the questions that I have from you guys. If you think of any other questions that you want to know about my personal situation, circumstances, or any other divorce or co-parenting relationship questions that you might have, leave them down in the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to follow this channel, and give the video a thumbs up if you liked seeing my coffee with Courtney's, because I'm enjoying making them, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!